Hello, Flirties. It's me, Benjamin, the Flirt Coach, and Gay Libra, signing on here at Flirt Headquarters, welcoming you to a brand new episode of Flirtations, all about friend crushes. We're talking platonic friend crushes, romantic friend crushes. What happens when you start out as friends and then you catch some feels? You want it to be more than friends. Take things to the next level. We're going through a whole cornucopia, a whole variety of what if scenarios and so much more in this episode. Going to conclude on flirting, of course. But before we get there, thank you in this intro to the intro. Thank you so much for being here, for tuning in, for listening, for streaming wherever you are in the world, just being a part of these conversations and this experiment that is the Flirt Coach mission to spread connection and BFE, big flirt energy, all over the world. Thanks again for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. If you haven't, now's a fantastic time. Please, I'm trying to get these ratings up, y'all. Get more reviews for the show so more people can find out about it, because I think it's pretty good. I think it's damn good, to be quite honest. And I want more people to know. I want more people to listen. And you can help me make that happen by leaving a review. It won't take long at all. Then share this episode or maybe another episode with a friend, a family member, someone you want to share some BFE, big flirt energy with. That's going to do it for this intro to the intro. Now let's get into the full conversation with Joel Hohman. Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we're diving into a topic that I know many of y'all wonder about but don't always say out loud. Friend crushes. You know the feeling when someone who started out as just a friend suddenly makes your heart race? Or when you catch yourself asking, could we be more? To explore this fascinating and sometimes complicated dynamic, we're joined by human connection enthusiast and host of the Socially Delightful podcast, it's Joel Hohman. Together we'll explore everything from how to tell if a friend might like you back to the best way to ask them out without making things weird. We'll also get into some perhaps trickier questions. What if they don't feel the same? What if people gossip? What if it stirs jealousy in your friend group? Or what happens if the relationship ends? But that's not all. We'll also look at platonic friend crushes, because those exist too. The role of vulnerability, the power of connection, why we should all be flirting a little bit more, and how we can do just that. So, if you ever had a friend crush, or maybe you're in the middle of one right now, this episode, it's for you. Let's do this, flirties, and meet Jewel.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach and a Gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties. On the show today, we welcome human connection enthusiast and host of the Socially Delightful podcast. It's Joel Hohman, here to have a conversation with us about friend crushes. Hi, Joel, and welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm absolutely ecstatic to be here.
I'm excited to have you on Flirtations today, helping the flirties and the daters with their friendship crush questions. I feel like this episode is going to be just a whole hypothetical cornucopia of what ifs, right?
Yeah.
What if I
it.
like my friend? What if they don't like me back? What if my ex is in my friend group? What if I work with them? What if there's some jealousy? My other friend likes me, but I like a different friend. We're going to get to all of it.
Beautiful.
For the flirties getting to know you for the first time today, a little bit about the story of Jewel. Yes.
Beautiful. That way y'all know, you're like, okay, here's where this girl's coming from. So I have been coaching for 5 years on all things friendship. I've been helping people with high functioning social anxiety. I have over 5,000 hours now of working with individuals one-on-one. And human connection enthusiast is truly like the best way to describe myself. I am obsessed with what makes us feel connected, with what helps us embody like the skills of connection. And now I am really focusing on like speaking at universities. And through this, I've been talking with a lot of people that are dating. I've been talking with a lot of, young adults, and that's been really fun. But I am also back in school to get my master's in social work, and I'm working with a couple of nonprofits dedicated to combating loneliness. So my whole life is about connection in all these ways, and I'm coming at this from a bunch of different angles. But yeah, my goal right now, and I think it's so timely. It's kind of funny how the culture has also like mimicked my own interests, but I wanted to get into like macro social change. And I feel like the culture, right? We're all about like building community. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from today. I do want to tell everybody right now, and like you also, Ben, I want to like flirt with you for a minute. Okay. friend flirt with you because I just think you are so insightful and your content is both emotionally resonant and really fun. And I just had to tell you, like last night I was, preparing for this podcast and I was like so excited, but also so like I got like nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk with this person. And I think a lot of that actually mimics what we're talking about today. Like I had to talk to myself the way that I'm imagining I'm going to have to tell some of your listeners to talk to themselves as they're starting to feel that like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Like I'm so excited. And like facing those feelings and like being able to like say that to myself last night and even to like tell you here, I can just like feel my body chill, relax. Yeah. It's just, it's so aligned with what we're talking about.
Taking that exhale. Yes. A lot of this, maybe how you were preparing for this is how you might sort of think through how you're going to talk to a friend that you have a crush on or you want to express feelings for, something like that. But thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. A little verklempt at Flirt headquarters. I describing my content as emotionally deep and also fun. Sometimes I sort of gloss over that and it's like, well, I just hit record and say whatever comes to mind. But thank you for acknowledging that because I do put a lot of thought behind what I say. And I had to learn, I've been doing this coaching thing for a few years now, going on about 4 years. And, when you show up on the internet and you have a podcast, you never know who is going to hear it. You never know who's going to be listening, who's going to be watching, what state of mind they're in, maybe what phase or stage of life they're in. And you want to always do your best to be supportive. You want to feel encouraging. You don't want to feel like what you're doing and what you're saying is putting someone down or alienating them. And so I've had to be really mindful of that. I would rather make people feel better about themselves than badly about themselves. Yeah. And so if that means it becomes a little more general at times, I'll take it.
No, you do such a good job. It's so, again, emotionally resonant is the word I can use for it. Like and I hear you because I've listened to your podcast quite a bit myself. You had my dear friend on Lucy Price. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lucy. And you've had somebody who I really admire. You had Anna Goldfarb and her book is just like, y'all, Modern we need to blow up her book. Everybody should go buy her book right now. It is so genius. In your episodes and in your content, you do such a good job at being like vulnerable because it's inherently vulnerable to get online, to even just be in a social space, point blank, period, y'all. Like there's a little bit of vulnerability that goes along with that because there's a little bit of risk. Like you said, you don't know where other people are at. There's risk for how to be perceived. Like that's human for all of us to care about. But the way you talk to people, you can tell like you're just being so compassionate with them. And like you bring literally a flirty, fun energy to it. And as somebody who's like a word in my show is like delightful, I feel like it's the same,
That must be the gay Libra in me, Jewel. Possibly. I say sometimes the mustache does a lot of the heavy lifting. I fear I can never get rid of Leopold at this point. If ever I don't know what to say or do, I can just stare at the camera and make a face. People they'll think something. They'll have an emotion.
I love it.
Yeah, because, there's so much. Like one of the things doing this work is, you want to strike that chord of being vulnerable and relatable and transparent. But sometimes like, where is the line? Like sort of where do you draw the line? And for me, I don't know that I have one. So let me just go there. See what happens, right? If you don't want to watch, if it's not for you, you'll keep scrolling by, right? You won't watch or listen. And then also just how much, when we do this and things are going really well for people, we don't always hear from them. We don't always get like the success stories or, hey, that flirt went really well or the first date went so well. It's when the flirt doesn't go well, when the first date is like, ugh, they didn't text me back, or I got the, didn't feel a spark after they told me had a great time. And so now we're helping like the flirties and daters through those experiences. And you want to be helpful. You want to be supportive.
Yeah. And it's so good to keep in mind. That has happened to me so many times where I've been like networking or out like at a college campus or something, and people have been like, hey, I want you to know this really helped me. And I was like, really? Yeah. That thing from like 3 months ago? I had no idea. Like,
no idea.
Right? Like I'm growing a new social media account right now, and it just feels like you're shouting into the void, and it's so nice to know.
Absolutely.
But I think that's so good for everybody listening to hear, because even if you're not in this like online space in any way, shape, or form, how many people are having like delightful thoughts about you that you just don't know about? I think it's like such a beautiful but also kind of sad thing. Like there's so much love and like loving thoughts that people are going to have about you that you just will never know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Well, thank you. Let's developing a friend crush right here on Flirtations. Thank you for sharing the love. Yeah. And want to return that. Appreciate what you do with your podcast and with your work, because I think we have some similarities where we have had that shyness, that social anxiety, but still always craved connection. And wanted connection and wanted to feel that sense of belonging, of being seen, understood, some of those core human needs that we all have. And so how can we experience that, cultivate that for ourselves, and then help others have the same?
I feel like especially where we overline, because I know you do work, like you talk a lot about like relationships, which makes sense, right? I talk a lot about creating friendships and like, if you will, like the outcome of that. But what I want people to have when they leave like my podcast, whatever it might be, is I want them to know that like this is like a way to live, like connecting with other people is a way to live. And there's going to be times where you're going to have to, like, maybe the anxiety's high and that connection is just going to be looking like more like being compassionate with yourself, like literally gentle parenting yourself through the social interaction, and then there's other times where it's like this, like flirt with the world kind of energy. Like I can go out and like find the delight, like in the world, find the togetherness, even with like the cashier at the grocery store, and like embodying that energy of connection. Yeah. So I feel like we really overline with that so much when it comes to friend crushes. And just to like make this a bit more about that. Yeah. Y'all, like, again, like I was so nervous last night and like had to like sit with myself for a second. And I was like, oh my gosh, truly, I just want to be friends with this person. Like I have a friend crush on this individual and I'm so excited. I think they're so insightful. Again, all of these beautiful things that are like so true that I just said. And I think for so many people that are feeling that way, immediately what comes up for them is like, oh my gosh, like I could be rejected, right? Like the nerves start to come up, the fear starts to come up. And one thing that I'm just like a really big believer in is that like, we don't need to get rid of that, but your first inclination is going to be like, oh my gosh, that can't be here. If I'm going to see this person, I cannot have any ounce of anxiety in my body. They're going to notice, they're going to see if they think something's wrong with me. And first and foremost, there's so many studies that show that people can't actually tell how nervous you are. Like that is something that we think like, oh my gosh, they can tell that I'm nervous, and we project literally onto other people. People aren't very good indicators of your anxiety levels. They're not in your body knowing that your heart rate's increasing, whatever it is. But I think like that urge to like get rid of any negative emotions going to come up. But to take a breath, to acknowledge it, to name it, to label it, I think is so good for everybody, because it allows you to be like, okay, this emotion, yes, it's here. And like, there's so much other like beautiful stuff here. I can breathe. It allows you to have a little bit of like a container around it.
You're bringing up some really good points as we're going to transition the conversation into like all the what if scenarios about friendship crushes and all of those dynamics where, oftentimes people aren't going to necessarily pick up on how nervous you are, if you are feeling nervous. I mean, I think sometimes we go to this image of like the person who's like shaking and has the flop sweat and it's just like pacing and looking all around. But chances are, if you're nervous, you're a little bit more maybe still, you know, kind of maybe your voice is trembling a little bit. You're overthinking. Your mind is going a million miles a minute. Like, what am I going to say? And the other part I feel like I heard you say is sometimes we jump towards the outcome we want, the expectation, the result. And then, that takes us out of the moment. And we're not exactly focusing on connection at that point. We're trying to focus on how we're perceived, how we want to be seen, getting what we want. So starting to get out of our minds a little bit, have more of that embodied experience. Say it's okay to be nervous and just like one line at a time, one word, one flirt at a time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And we can work through it. So how about, let's start here. So if you are crushing on a friend, is there a way to know perhaps if maybe they are crushing on you too? That's one of the classic questions, right? How can I know if they are maybe into me?
I think we could get really easy for us to get caught up in analyzing that. And there's also been studies that show like if we're overthinking something, like we're already like we're getting farther and farther from the truth. Like we're starting to paint a bunch of different realities. Like it's harder to trust like your like gut reaction that is likely in some cases to be correct if you are literally overthinking all of the scenarios. So I think that's easy to happen. I'm really big on you either get closer or you get clarity. And I'm really big on like say like the vulnerable thing. And it doesn't have to be this like huge, I sit this person down. I tell this friend that I like them, but I'm really big on like, instead of hanging out in that, how do I know if they like me back? Then like, let's just open and have a conversation. But what do you think, Ben? I'm curious on your thoughts.
I agree. And it's about having a conversation that doesn't have to be this, you know, your icebreaker, your opening doesn't have to be, do you like me? Because I like you, right? That could be maybe really scary for both of you, or you're not quite ready to go there. But like, how to know if someone likes you? This is always different. They're hard to answer because does the person who actually likes you do the thing where they pretend like they don't like you at all? Right? Or do they do the thing where they're like watching all your stories, or they're like, you know, trying to really get close to you, or seems like they're very interested, maybe beyond like what seems like, ooh, this is maybe a little more than a friend. I think there's going to be this energy sometimes that's there. There's going to be this curiosity. There's going to be this little piece of intuition that's like, I think maybe I'm feeling something a little bit more than a friend here. And then I've got to distinguish is like, am I just attracted to them? Like, do I just want to hook up with this person? Or would I be like wanting to get to know them on more of that like emotional, kind of like intellectual, energetic level? Right? So like teasing that out for myself, understanding what my intentions are, and then approaching the situation, the person from there. Ultimately, what would I want? Yeah. And the other person, of course, they have free will. They're their own autonomous individual. They can do and say whatever they want as well. So just because I express maybe an expectation doesn't mean the other person is going to have the same expectation.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like you get closer or you get clarity. I mean, also it's so related to what we're talking about right now. Like you also have to be really honest with yourself in order to be really honest with another person. And I say be really honest because some people might be hearing that and they might be like, well, I don't want to tell this person, you know, that I'm like thinking about them like all day long and that I'm like scrolling through I'm not saying like you need to be like super honest like that, but I think it's so good for you to check in with yourself and be like, how do I feel about this person? What do I want? And you have to be really honest and like truly vulnerable with yourself and name it in order then to talk to that other person about it. But it reminds me of a client that I coached yesterday. And very similar, however, like she has like a friend crush, like she wants to be friends with this other girl. And I think it's really related because what we decided on and what we talked about was, okay, like you're going to tell this girl like, hey, I really enjoy being around you. And I really love like our really growth oriented conversations. I want to spend more time with you and get closer. That is so vulnerable, but that required my client in our conversation to be so honest with herself. Yeah. And then once you're really honest with yourself, some of the fears and stuff come up. And so then for that client, we were able to be honest on like, okay, what is she afraid of what this person says no? Yeah. And how could she be okay with that? And so arming herself with like, here's what I want. And I know I'm going to be okay if it doesn't work out. Yeah. Then she was able to be like, okay, I now know what I'm going to say to this person. And y'all, if you live your life this way, it's such a bold, flirty way to live your life, right? Absolutely. Like if you live your life this way, you're going to create meaningful bonds all over the place because it's, again, requiring you to have that conversation. Like no matter what happens with my client and this friend, she's either going to get closer to this person or she's going to know and she's going to go prioritize other people. Yeah. And I know when it comes to a friend crush, like somebody that is a friend that you have a crush on, it might feel like there's more at stake, but I want to offer really it's not. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. These are really good distinctions where even before this conversation, like I feel like my answer was really geared towards exploring that more romantic kind of aspect of a friendship, taking it to like quote unquote, like the next level. Right. And then in your response in your client work with that example, sharing more what it would be like to explore a platonic crush with a friend, which could be between the same genders, different genders, right? Doesn't matter. Yeah.
The way we create a friendship and the way that we date somebody is actually like involves like the same process. Like there's this woman, her name is Shasta Nelson. She's like the OG friendship expert. She's been doing this for like 30 years. Okay. She's a godsend. And she says that every friendship has 3 things. And it has like a foundation of positivity. And what she means by that is positive interactions. Like you have to have 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. Okay. And then if you can picture a triangle, like that's our foundation. And then as we increase a bond with somebody through increasing our vulnerability and through increasing our consistency. And think about it. When you're dating, that looks like, okay, like I am dating you. We are spending time together. Can I see you next week? Like it's the same process as well when you are making a new friend. Yeah. And that happens a lot. Like people will say to in my sessions often, like, I feel like I'm dating. And I'm like, good. Yeah. You're doing it. You're making friends. This is what it looks like.
Yeah. A lot of similarities and parallels. And so maybe this is like if you are, because there's a lot of flirties that are just actively not dating at all. And so maybe this is a way you kind of practice dating in a sense or cultivate, kind of create those deeper connections that can offer a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction and meet a lot of your needs that you would, right? That you might rely on in a relationship. I think sometimes we kind of put the romantic relationship, right? If we're just using the triangle here for a moment, like at the top of the triangle and like everything else is just sort of not as good or not as great. And I don't agree with that. I think if we can look at all of our relationships, they're going to fulfill our needs differently. But I think there can be some, our friendships are just they're so important. And even like the friendships that aren't those core friendships that we talk to or those people we talk to every day. And this is something I remember Anna Goldfarb was talking about. She was on the show and how we need those friends that, you check in with here and there. You get on FaceTime with maybe a few times a year. You have the trip you take once a year. You get together maybe for holidays every time you go home or something like that, and you reconnect. Like, I think all of those friendships, not that we need to have a bunch of them, but they do serve a purpose, and that's connection, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, every connection can happen in an instant, and it's so valuable. It's so valuable. Like, if I were to, which I wouldn't right now, it's rainy, but if I were to leave my house right now and would be like waving or like saying hi to my neighbor, even if I am introverted, and y'all, I used to have extremely high social anxiety. So like even as like a high social anxiety individual, that does a little something for you. Like you naturally like smile mostly. I feel like most people, when they like see another person, it's like, hi, how are you? And you walk away like feeling a little bit seen. Like that is valuable. And don't just take my word for it. I was looking up, I'm obsessed with this study that came out in 2022. It's called Hello Stranger. Pleasant. I pulled it up because I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to come. I just knew it. I knew it was going to come up in our conversation. But they found in this study, so it's called Hello Stranger, pleasant conversations are preceded by concerns about starting one. And so it's this experiment like in London where train commuters were assigned to talk to somebody. And then some people were assigned to not talk to somebody.
Okay.
And the people that were like, oh, I'm not going to talk to somebody on this train ride, assumed that they were going to enjoy their time on the train more, right? Like I got my book, I got my favorite podcast. I'm, zoning out. I'm taking a little nap. I'm going to enjoy this train ride more. And then the people that were in the group that were assigned to talk to somebody ended up after the train ride really loving that time. Like so much more than the people that didn't. These people were kind of like in an indifferent space, like the people that didn't talk to somebody. And the people that did were like, oh my gosh, it was so nice. And y'all, this is like a mixed group of people. So some of the people in here were introverts. Some of the people in here were like high social anxiety. Yeah. And they still enjoyed their time more. So connection can happen in an instant. And it's so valuable. And I want to like put that out there because I'm not saying you need to talk to people. It's also not a prescription where it's like you need to talk to people every single time you're on a train. Right. I am not saying that. You know what I mean? Like I am not saying that by any means, but I think it's helpful because especially over here in the US of A, that with our hyper individualistic culture, it's really easy to not see the value in all of these kinds of relationships, even the relationship that we have with somebody where we just talk to them on a train. Bringing it back to like friend crushes though, and I think this is so valuable for everybody to hear. I love what you said about they can practice like what we're talking about, like these like disclosures in friends, because that in friendships or in even like on a train ride, like practicing like those muscles of like being vulnerable and being like, hey, I really want to talk to you more about this. Like saying your desires out loud, I think is so good to practice for like, I am getting ready to disclose like that I've had a crush on my friend, or that I'm curious about like whether or not like this could like be something else or like go more. I think that's such a beautiful thing that people can take from this episode.
Yeah, I hope so. And I love the train example. Yeah, you don't have to do it every every time. I know some of the floaties are like, oh my God, if I'm on the train 5 days a week commuting to and from, that's 10 trips, quick math, I could never, but maybe a couple, right? Like I think about this interview that I heard on the Diary of a CEO podcast with, his name is Dr. K, who I'm trying to get on Flirtations. And he's talking about how hard it is today to even just fall in love, have those more romantic relationships, but going just like beneath all of that, or I guess alongside all of that, is what I want to say, is just creating that connection. And when we're on, right, it's swipe culture, it's app culture, it's social media, it's even Amazon. It's just our desire, our expectation for immediate gratification, right? Instant sparks. We are just so kind of impatient, hyper individualistic, keeping to ourselves, right? Scrolling. If we like even on, a podcast or whatever, like not even just like giving something our full attention, all the multitasking, we're so busy. And what this does is just deplete our systems of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, which are 3 hormones neurotransmitters that are chemically required for connection and for bonding. So if we are depleting our systems, and not to say you can't listen to a podcast or put on your favorite playlist and get in a better mood, especially if like you're dancing or something like that. So sure, like use all of these tools, but also they don't replace human connection. And we've got to really flex that muscle and just practice it more, because like, why are you, if you're going on first date after first date and every single time you're bored, no spark, not interested, we got to start looking at your nervous system and actually looking at what's happening in your brain and in your body as to why that's happening every single time, because the common denominator is you, and there's something, there's a little bit of internal work to do, like on the biological side of things.
And I like the way you talked about it, because I think historically, when it comes to friendship, but when it comes to connection in general, it's been kind of seen as a nice to have or an ancillary thing. And I think that's why I got into what I do in the first place, is because I knew the value of connection. I'm not very close to my family. That relationship's changing, which yay. But like, but I grew up not feeling very close to my family and craving connection. Again, like also very high social anxiety individual, and knowing how to be more socially confident and knowing how to connect more with other people and creating those meaningful friendships literally changed the way I experienced my life. Like truly my nervous system, because this was years and years ago, that you would probably not recognize the individual that I was, because, and I'm not trying to say like it's the answer for everything. I hate when people do that. But I really think we've undervalued it so much that it deserves so much attention. So I really appreciate you describing it, because I think connection is such an enhancer. It's not, I don't just try to help people make friends. I want people to have connection, be an enhancer, be a part of the fabric of their lives, because I know the value of it and what it can do for somebody. And what we're talking about, and like what you talk about, like as I was preparing for this episode last night, the thing that I kept coming up with is like this flirty energy is also like flirting with the world, like finding delight in yourself and other people, even in, like the little like trickle of the rain that's like coming down right now, which hopefully this mic is good and not picking it up.
But you're good. I don't hear it at all.
Beautiful.
It's raining here as well. God, constantly. I'm over it.
Yeah, right?
I need my sunshine.
Oh my gosh. And to delight in it when it comes back, right?
Yeah.
Like I love the way you're talking about it, because I think if we centered connection more in our lives, we would all have completely different experiences. If I may, because I want to make sure I say this and it keeps coming back into my head, like to completely switch gear, like the ADHD is so hard. We're talking about my favorite topics and new topics. So I'm just ping ponging all around. Because again, I really think you either get closer to your desire, or you get clarity, and then you've already looked at, right, how can I be okay with this? All outcomes, you're good. But I think what prevents people from doing that sometimes, Ben, is that they're afraid of being seen as weak for like liking somebody more than they like them. Yeah. This is something that comes up, literally it came up for the client I was just talking about yesterday. This comes up in friendships. I think this comes up in dating. I can't tell you how many girlfriends that are dating right now that I talk to and like say something similar to that, right? Like, well, what if I like them more than they like me? We need to check and dive deeper into like, okay, what would you make that mean about you? And it doesn't have to mean that. Like how many people have liked you and they are still a worthy individual. I think we really need to detach our worth. I want to, as a case for vulnerability, there's this concept called the beautiful mess effect. Okay. And have you heard of it? I feel like I'm maybe know what you're going to say, but I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Yeah. So what is it? I was just curious because your face went, oh, yeah. like it lit up in recognition. So the beautiful mess effect is literally like a study done where people have like confessed their feelings to another person and have been like, hey, I, have feelings for you. And the beautiful mess effect is somebody, even regardless of whether or not they reciprocate those feelings, they see that person in a better light. Like they view that person literally as like if you will, like a beautiful mess, because it is vulnerable, and vulnerability, you know, as Brene Brown always says, like you have to be courageous. So to tell somebody your feelings, whether that is, I want to be closer with you as a friend, or I want to see if we can make this friendship more, that is like such a confident, like emotionally mature, vulnerable, courageous thing to do. It does not make you look weak. And if you have any thoughts about, oh, well, if they don't like me, it must mean X, Y, and Z, that's something that like you got to look at and explore and shift on your own. That is not the truth. Other people aren't thinking less of you if you confess your feelings to them, regardless of what that feeling is.
Yeah, I like this beautiful mess concept. And it's like what you said is many things you said are sticking with me, but the one that's coming to mind is this, like, when did liking someone almost become like cringe, right?
Yeah.
Like this was about, this are some of the questions that came through about, like, you know, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I like my friend, whether that's more on the platonic side, more on the romantic side, just like bring my honesty into this connection in maybe a new way. Like, I feel like I don't want to ruin the friendship, right? A lot of flirties said that. I feel like I don't want to mess this up. You know, what if I see them at school, at work? You know, like they're actually like in maybe my core friend group. And so I'm going to see them at gatherings, at parties, on the weekends, when we go to shows or whatever. And so I understand not wanting to change the existing dynamics, but I feel like part of that is what you're saying is this almost this fear of being cringe, this fear of being seen as weak or like almost as too vulnerable, because what if my vulnerability isn't fully understood, or it isn't accepted, or they don't feel the same way? And then, some other questions here just about like, what happens then? Like, what happens if, it's this what if, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're so right. It's like afraid to be cringe, to be seen as weak, and afraid of the dynamic changing, which, of course, like if we have a close friend, we appreciate that relationship for what it is. Yeah. I want to offer, though, that as feelings start to grow and like the dynamics are already changing for you, like your experience of that friendship, that relationship is already changing, and that's inevitable. There's studies. I'm going to preface this before I say this, and I'm going to zap anybody's thoughts that they might have about this. Friendship is so valuable. It provides so much to our lives. And one of the great things about friendship is that it allows for flexibility. Like somebody who was once really close in our lives, like they don't have to be super close for a time being, and then they can come back. That's happened to me. I say this because friendships change. Like studies show, friendships change every 7 years. Like half of our friendships, somebody who may have been like a best friend can become like, as Anna Goldfarb says, like a memorial friend. Some people who was a good friend is like no longer on like our triangle at all anymore, right? Like they left, somebody else is here. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh my gosh, then what's the point? Well, I just told you the point, so you're not going to have that thought. But I bring this up because your relationship's going to change anyway, and the dynamic is going to change. And I think especially your experience, I'm thinking honestly of my partner. We were friends before we started dating. It's, it's been 3 years since that moment, but the dynamic was already changing for us before we decided to take that relationship to the next level. Like it already was there. That's inevitable. I think if somebody's really struggling with like the what ifs, a good tool to use is something that Dr. Ellen Hendrickson has come up with. And there are 3 questions. And they don't sound like they would be very empowering, but I tell you what, I use these 3 questions nonstop. They are the most empowering thing. And the first question is like, what is the worst case scenario actually? Okay. And that's such a good question, because when you're in that place of fear of rejection, you can be like, oh my gosh, they're going to say no, the whole friendship's going to blow up and then I'm going to have no friends. And then my self-confidence is going to be ruined forever. And then like our brains can go to these like huge places where it ends up with like, I'm all alone and in pain for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And that first question is so helpful, because what is the worst case scenario actually can help you be like, okay, the worst case scenario actually is that it's awkward for a bit. Right? And like awkwardness is fine. We're so afraid of it, right? Like I felt awkward telling you my little flirt earlier. It's fine. It's fine.
It is fine. It is fine.
The second question is, how likely is it? And I like to do it at a scale from 1 to 10. Like, how likely is the worst case scenario?
Okay.
The third question is, what is actually likely? And then the last question is, how will I cope? So regardless of what happens, how will you cope with the situation? If it makes, I think if you're having those what ifs come up, it can make that part of your brain kind of like calm down a bit to be like, okay, if this what if happens, here's what I will do. And it might be painful. It might be awkward. You know, there might be some emotions, but here's how I will cope. Here's how I will be okay. Here's how I will move forward. It doesn't like, my life doesn't stop here.
Right. All right. I love that as well. And I was going to ask in the interview today if you've ever had a friendship crush. I have, and I'll share in a moment about what my situation was like. But it sounds like yours turned into a partnership.
Yes.
So how did you just initially approach that conversation, right? Like kind of who said what? How did that go? Because, of course, the flirties want to know, look, I've got a crush on my friend. We've talked about the platonic side. Now about the romantic side, what do I even say? How do I express that?
Yeah. Oh, I'm all of the flirty and like nervous feelings are coming up. Yeah. And you know what, Ben? And it's funny, I said this earlier where I was like, I don't have a lot of expertise in as far as the romantic part goes, but I feel like I've actually been through this quite a bit with like, I've dated people that are my friends and vice versa. And you know what I mean? Like how it began, I would say just through communication. And it's interesting because one of the like what if questions is like, what if they're a part of the friend group? We are in the same friend group.
Okay.
And so I think it was truly just communication. There was a time period where I was going through a breakup, and even though I had feelings for my now partner, his name's Aaron. He's fantastic. And I was going through a breakup and I was still really, really hurt and like, like, you know, that space where like everything's painful.
Yes.
And I was still really in that space from my past relationship. And so just like communicating with the group. But I think too, it wasn't new to me because my longtime best friend, I'm not going to say his name because he's an incredibly private person, but my longtime best friend, we dated for 2.5 years and we've been friends since we were 12. We've been a part of the same friend group since we were 12 and we're still a part of the same friend group to this day. I always joke like our breakup anniversary just passed 10 years. So like we've been broken up for 10 years and this is still like one of my confidants, like one of my people. And I bring that up because navigating these dynamics, I think, has just involved a lot of communication. Like when I started having feelings for I'm just going to call him Dale for now, but because I don't know, I don't want to, he's incredibly private. But like when we started having feelings for each other in the friend group that we were in, like it just involved a lot, like communication. And then when we broke up, same thing. And it became a little bit like a joke. Like we would joke that like we were sharing custody of our friends because for a time period when we broke up, right? Like painful stuff. And I would say probably for about 6 months, like I didn't see Dale, Dale didn't see me, and I knew my friends were with him. And then, you know, they would hang out with me. Like we joked and like that we split custody. So I don't know, probably not the answer you were looking for, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that communication was the part of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's helpful because as we've been talking all episode, it's like probably, maybe it is one of those friendships where you see each other here and there. Maybe you have mutual friends in common. So, you're not necessarily like in the same friend group. And so it might be, you get an opportunity one day, you're catching a vibe, a little bit of a flirt is happening. And then you approach it with like, hey, and I always say, I mean, why does it always start with hey, right? Like to be more specific than vague. So in a situation like that, if you're just saying, hey, like, do you want to hang out sometime?
Yes.
What does that mean? I don't really know. What do you mean by hang out? I think I have an idea maybe what you mean, but I also don't know you super well. So like just being more specific, like, hey, I've really enjoyed every time we get to see each other and hang out. I'd really like to take you out sometime. Or would you like to go on a date with me? Or would you like to go see a movie or like check out this restaurant or go see a show sometime? And so just being specific about what you want that one-on-one time to look like. And I think we've talked through a bunch of the scenarios, the what ifs of maybe they don't feel the same way. Maybe they get anxious. The R word, reject you. So like, I think we've helped the flirties there, but then maybe more realistically, sometimes this is going to just evolve with friends that you've known for a while. And those friendship dynamics can change over time as you were sharing. And so maybe you were in a relationship or they were in a relationship and now you find yourselves, you're both single. And just through having those vulnerable conversations about going through a breakup or going through what's happening at work or with your family, that might be the way two of you like kind of naturally start to grow together. And then from there, the dynamics change. And it's like, oh, wait, could this become more? And so that's a way that it can evolve as well beyond just the platonic friend crush. And in these, oh my gosh, do you have a couple extra minutes, Jewel, perhaps?
Do. Yeah.
Okay. I want to share my example.
Please.
Because I think this gets into some of the dynamics where some of the flirties wanted to know about, maybe this situation where you have a crush on a friend or someone has a crush on you, more on that romantic side, or even it could be the platonic side. We see this in friendship groups where two people start to get a little bit close and then someone gets jealous. That happens. Like, what if your ex is in your friend group? So, which is maybe a completely separate question, but this was in the gay kickball league. And I just was really crushing on this guy, right? I just thought he was so cute. I really liked his personality. He seemed like a ton of fun. And for weeks, like, I would go like watch his game. I would see him around at the party afterward. We would all just go hang out at a bar and get some food and maybe some drinks. And I would just sort of like see him and maybe say hello, and he would say hello. And it took a little bit of time. I'm going to say even a month, maybe a month and a half to just like have a conversation with them. It seemed like he was always talking to someone else, or I'd get up the courage to say something and he would have left early, or maybe he missed that week. So for whatever reason, it just took some time, but we finally started to talk, and the energy, like the vibe was there. He was being flirty and asked for his number, and we went out, right? We went out on a few dates, and it didn't really go anywhere beyond that. It was one of those kind of platonic crushes that became romantic, then plateaued relatively quickly. It didn't necessarily grow super fast. It just reached this level of, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. Like, we were both kind of feeling that. And so we became friends again. Like we did that thing where like we went on a few dates. It became romantic. Yes, we hooked up, for anyone wondering. It happened. And then we went back to being friends. And that's just what it was. And we were okay with that because we talked about it. It wasn't just like all of this was happening and we weren't having a conversation about, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I feel like I'm noticing. How are you? Like, what's going on? We were at least emotionally available enough and mature enough to have those conversations and then be okay with being friends again. And in this dynamic, right, there was some people that got a little bit I mean, I don't want to assume like I know their feelings, but seemed like they got kind of like jealous that we started hanging out a little bit more. And so in that situation, you can always like, I wouldn't go up to someone and be like, hey, are you jealous of me? Right? Like, that's not amazing. But I feel like, we used to be like, we've been talking less. I've just noticed like, it seemed like we're not as close as we used to be. And if I need to own some of that, then I need to own some of that. Right. But then also not projecting my insecurities or my anxieties onto someone else or assuming I know what's going on with them. At the end of the day, I suppose communication is just the game winner.
Yeah.
Always, because otherwise you're just in your head making assumptions and trying to read someone's mind or decode someone's behavior when we don't always know what's going on. And just the final thing I wanted to touch on is the gossip that can happen in friend groups. Like, it's like, oh, so-and-so asked so-and-so out, or, oh, right. I hear like, oh, it's not going super well, or maybe, oh, it's going really well. So our friend's going to talk, Jewel, probably at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I guess let them talk. What do you got? You can't control that. But if you feel like you need to say something, if someone is stepping over a boundary or speaking out of turn or hurting your feelings or maybe trying to damage the relationship you're looking to create platonically or romantically, then you get to say something, because ultimately a true friend, someone you want in your life, isn't going to try and ruin your other relationships. Yeah. That was a lot. But anyway.
It was so good. And I appreciate you saying that, because even if somebody's in that situation right now or they're not, they can see a lot of what we've been talking about. I love that you said being specific, being like, hey, like, that's what I also mean when I say like, be fully honest.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Jewel, thank you so much for being on the show today. Before I send all the flirties your way, I just want to end on this concept of flirt energy. I feel like it's been coming up a lot. You've mentioned a few times flirting with the world. I feel like that's a big theme in my content, my videos, and Flirtations as well. And one thing it's about, like it can be about a gratitude appreciation practice, just noticing, right, what's going on around you. It could be about reframing some of those thoughts you have of like, oh my God, it's raining today again. Well, yes, but I also have a delicious cup of coffee that just tasted so good this morning. So maybe I put my energy on that. It's about creating gratitude and appreciation for your life, expressing interest, catching a flirt, being vulnerable and open when the mood and when the time is right. But also what it is about is acceptance for me. Like, that's just such a big piece. It doesn't mean you have to accept or settle for where you're at in your life. If you're not happy in your relationships and maybe your singleness and your career and your education, you feel like there's some change coming. Of course, but part of this is going to be to accept this moment for exactly what it is. You can't change. You can change the next moment, but this moment is like happening, right? So it's like, it's already happened. And one thing I say in my yoga classes, as we're coming out of Shavasana, we go into sleeping baby pose, and in sleeping baby pose, right, we take a couple deep breaths before we end our practice. And I say, right, this is sleeping baby pose, a shape that always reminds us we have the opportunity to begin again on our mat and off our mat with each breath. And each breath is a new opportunity if you think about it like that. Each flirt is a new opportunity to create change, maybe to bring in more acceptance. Maybe you love where everything is at right now and how you're feeling. Okay, then create more of that. Yeah. I think it's the acceptance piece that sometimes gets overlooked, and that a lot of people, flirties, daters, everyone has trouble with. Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
Period.
Period. This is why I want to be your friend. Yes. I'm like, so could not. Yes. Perfect note to end on.
All
Absolutely
right.
perfect.
Well, thank you again for being on the show today. I want to send, the Flirties your way. I'll have some links below in the show notes for this episode to your socials, the podcast, to work with you if you're accepting new clients. How can they find you, follow you, and learn more?
Yeah, you can find me at Connection with Jewel on Instagram, TikTok. The podcast, the Socially Delightful Podcast. I'm so proud of her. And, I do want to shout people out and send people this way. So I am limiting my number of clients. However, y'all, one thing I'm really big on right now, and I just want to put a little PSA, a big vulnerable ask out is I've spent so many years doing this, but I'm really working to get more into the macro change more and the teaching part. And so if your company or if your coaching program or your school, if you want to bring connection education in any type of way to your school, shout me out. That's what I'm mostly working on right now.
Okay.
And so, you can find that all at connectionwithjewel.com. And then if you are oh my gosh, I want to make more friends. I want to embody a bit of what Ben and I talked about today. I have 2 trainings that were used in the largest conference in my state. And we were so proud of them that my amazing virtual assistant, Hannah, and I, we moved and we made them trainings available to everybody. So they are how to belong at any event and how to turn people you meet into friends. And so you can get those for free. They're on the website. At connectionwithjewel.com.
Fantastic. I will send all the Flirties your way. Corporate baddie.
Oh my God, thanks.
Love that for you. Okay. Companies, schools, conferences. I mean, if you're trying to cultivate workplace well-being and increase productivity, which is ultimately what I know y'all want to do, it's about that bottom line.
Right.
It's how you treat your people and the relationships your employees have with one another. They're going to be more productive if they're feeling good, feeling supported, and feeling happy.
Yes.
Hire Jewel, y'all. Oh my God. I totally get you there.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And I love it. Mostly what I've worked with is women throughout my time. And I just really want... It sounds horrible in some way, but I really want to make sure men are hearing this work in some type of way. Yes. You know what I mean? It's just so important. So
they need it. There's quite a few of the fellas here listening, and I think now they're going to be following you as well. Jewel Hohman, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Flirties, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations, the Friendship Crushes episode of the program, whether those crushes are platonic or romantic. I hope you got some fun, new, insightful takeaways from the conversation today with Jewel Hohman. Jewel, thank you for being on the show. Some great links in the show notes below for this episode to work with Jewel. Follow her. Check out the show notes. And thank you, the Flirties, for being here, for tuning in, for listening, for streaming wherever you are in the world, whatever platform you're on, or perhaps watching these conversations on YouTube. Yes, they're all there for you. I appreciate you being here as we navigate this thing that is flirting, dating, relationships, and life. I hope we got to a lot of your what-if style questions today, exploring all the dynamics of friendship crushes. Yes, thank you for being here. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. If you have, thank you. If you haven't, now's a great time for 5 stars, a comment, a review, whatever platform you may be listening or watching on. Yes, share some love for the show. I really appreciate you for doing so, and it helps me to grow the show, continue to get amazing guests. It honestly helps so much. So thank you, and please share this episode, with a friend, someone you want to share some BFE, big flirt energy with. All right, that's going to do it for me, Benjamin, the Flirt Coach, and Gay Libra here at Flirt Headquarters Flirty. Only one thing left to say and do, and that is wish you very happy flirting.